Japan has had a long history of earthquakes and seismic activity. It is an area of high seismicity because it is located near major tectonic plate boundaries and is situated on the Pacific Ring of Fire. Geological background. The islands of Japan are primarily the result of several large oceanic movements occurring over hundreds of millions of years from the mid-Silurian to the Pleistocene as a result of the subduction of the Philippine Sea Plate beneath the continental Amurian Plate and Okinawa Plate to the south, and subduction of the Pacific Plate under the Okhotsk Plate to the north. Japan was originally attached to the eastern coast of the Eurasian continent. The subducting plates, being deeper than the Eurasian Plate, pulled Japan eastward, opening the Sea of Japan around 15 million years ago. The Strait of Tartary and the Korea Strait opened much later. Today the Japanese archipelago is considered a mature island arc and is the result of several generations of subducting plates. Approximately 15,000 kilometers of oceanic floor has passed under the Japanese area in the last 450 million years, with most being fully subducted. Japan is situated in a volcanic zone on the Pacific Ring of Fire. Frequent low-intensity earth tremors and occasional volcanic activity are felt throughout the islands. Destructive earthquakes, often resulting in tsunamis, occur several times a century. History. Although there is mention of an earthquake in Yamato in what is now Nara Prefecture on August 23, 416, the first to be reliably documented took place in Nara Prefecture on May 28, 599 during the reign of Empress Suiko, destroying buildings throughout Yamato province. Many historical records of Japanese earthquakes exist, and the Imperial Earthquake Investigation Committee was created in 1892 to conduct a systematic collation of the available historical data, published in 1899 as the Catalogue of Historical Data on Japanese Earthquakes. Following the 1923 Great Kanto Earthquake, the Imperial Earthquake Investigation Committee was superseded by the Earthquake Research Institute in 1925. In modern times, the catalogues compiled by Tatsuo Uzami are considered to provide the most authoritative source of information on historic earthquakes, with the 2003 edition detailing 486 that took place between 416 and 1888. Significant earthquakes The deadliest earthquake has been the 1923 Great Kanto Earthquake, with 105,385 deaths, while the strongest and costliest earthquake on record is the 2011 Tohoku Earthquake, $235 billion. This latter is also the costliest natural disaster to date globally. The 1703 Genroku Earthquake shook Edo and killed an estimated 2,300 people. The earthquake is thought to have been an interplate earthquake whose focal region extended from Sagami Bay to the tip of the Bazaar Peninsula as well as the area along the Sagami Trough in the open sea southeast of the Bose Peninsula. This earthquake then resulted in a tsunami which hit the coastal areas of the Bose Peninsula and Sagami Bay. This caused more than 6,500 deaths, particularly on the Bose Peninsula. The Heibu Pond on Izuo Eshima collapsed and it rushed into the sea. The tsunami was reported to have caused more than 10,000 fatalities. On December 24, 1854, the M8.4 Anzu Tokai earthquake hit Suruga Bay. Over 10,000 people from the Tokai region down to Kyushu were killed. The epicenter ranged from Suruga Bay to the deep ocean, and struck primarily in the Tokai region, but destroyed houses as far away as in Edo. The accompanying tsunami caused damage along the entire coast from the Bazaar Peninsula in modern-day Chiba Prefecture to Disa Province. 120 earthquakes and tremors in total were felt in Edo in 1854 55. Later, on November 11, 1855 an earthquake measuring 6.9 m struck near the mouth of the Arakawa River. The great earthquake struck after 10 o'clock in the evening. Roughly 30 aftershocks continued until dawn. Records from the time indicate 6,641 deaths inside the city, and 2,759 injuries. Much of the city was destroyed by fire, leading many people to stay in rural inns. Aftershocks continued for 20 days. This quake was a particularly destructive deep-thrust quake caused by a giant slab of rock stuck between the Philippine Sea Plate and Pacific Plates. On April 9, 1858, the Hietsu earthquake occurred on the Atsugawa Fault, which connects Mount Tate in Toyama Prefecture and the Ama Pass in Gifu Prefecture on the island of Honshu in Japan. Its name includes one kanji from Hida and one from Echa, the names of the provinces that were in use at the time. The earthquake is estimated to have killed 300 people. It also caused the Mount Tonbi landslide and blocked the upper reaches of the Jaganji River. On October 28, 1891, the Mino-Owari earthquake struck the former provinces of Mino and Owari in the Knobby Plain area during the Meiji period in Japan. It is also referred to as the Knobby Earthquake or the Great Knobby Earthquake. On June 20, 1894, an earthquake measuring Meiji Tokyo earthquake hit Tokyo Bay. It affected downtown Tokyo and neighboring Kanagawa Prefecture, especially the cities of Kawasaki and Yokohama. The depth of the 1894 earthquake has not been determined, but it is thought to have occurred within the subducting Pacific Plate under the Kanto region. The death toll was 31 killed and 157 injured. The Sanriku coast of Japan has experienced significant seismic activity. On June 15, 1896, an earthquake measuring 8.5 m, the 1896 Meiji Sanriku Earthquake occurred off the coast of Sanriku in Iwate Prefecture, causing a tsunami of 25 meters 35 minutes after the quake, which destroyed hundreds of houses and killed over 27,000 people. Tsunami were also observed in Hawaii and in California. The area would be struck again many times throughout its history. On September 1, 1923, an earthquake measuring 7.9 m, the 1923 Great Kanto Earthquake struck the Kanto Plain on the Japanese main island of Honshu at 11:58 on the morning of September 1, 1923. Varied accounts hold that the duration of the earthquake was between 4 and 10 minutes. The quake had an epicenter deep beneath Azao Esshima Island in Sagami Bay. It devastated Tokyo, the port city of Yokohama, surrounding prefectures of Chiba, Kanagawa, and Shizuoka, and caused widespread damage throughout the Kanto region. The power and intensity of the earthquake is easy to underestimate, but the 1923 earthquake managed to move the 93-ton Great Buddha statue at Kamakura. The statue slid forward almost 2 feet. Casualty estimates range from about 100,000 to 142,000 deaths, the latter figure including approximately 40,000 who went missing and were presumed dead. On March 7, 1927, an earthquake measuring 7.6 m, the 1927 Kita Tango earthquake affected the Tango Peninsula in Kyoto Prefecture, killing 3,020 people. Almost all houses in Mineyama, now part of Kaya Tango, were destroyed, and the quake was felt as far away as Tokyo and Kagoshima. On March 2, 1933, the 1933 Sanriku earthquake measuring 7.6 m on the Richter scale struck 294 kilometers east of the city of Komeshi, Iwate. The resultant tsunami caused widespread damage to towns on the Sanriku coast of the Tohoku region of Honshu, Japan in 1933. On September 10, 1943, the 1943 Tottery Earthquake, measuring 7.2 m struck offshore from Kotaka district in the Tottery Prefecture, killing 1,083. Although the earthquake occurred during World War II, information about the disaster was surprisingly uncensored, and relief volunteers and supplies come from many parts of the Japanese Empire, including Manchukuo. The Tottery earthquake had its epicenter offshore from Kotaka district, now part of Tottery City, with a magnitude of 7.2 on the Richter scale. The magnitude of the earthquake was 6.0 in Tottery City, and 5.0 as far away as Okayama on the Inland Sea. On January 13, 1945 at 3:38 a.m., the Mikawa earthquake struck Mikawa Bay off the Miyazaki prefectures, killing 2306 with 1180 confirmed dead and 1126 missing. As the earthquake occurred during World War II, information about the disaster was censored, and efforts at keeping the disaster secret hampered relief efforts and contributed to a high death toll. The Mikawa earthquake had its epicenter offshore in Mikawa Bay. The city of Tsu recorded a magnitude of 6 on the Richter scale. However, areas in southern Aki Prefecture were closer to the epicenter, and suffered significant damage. On December 20, 1946, an earthquake measuring 8.1 m, the 1946 Nankada earthquake killed 1,362 in Nankada. The earthquake was felt from northern Honshu to Kyaosha. On June 28, 1948, an earthquake measuring 7.1 m, the 1948 Fukui Earthquake struck near Maruka, Fukui in Fukui Prefecture, killing 3,769. The strongest shaking occurred in the city of Fukui, where it was recorded as 6 on the Japan Meteorological Agency seismic intensity scale. The Sanriku coast was affected again with the 1994 Sanriku Fukuoka Earthquake. On January 17, 1995, an earthquake measuring 6.8 m, known informally as the Kobe Earthquake, formerly as the Great Hanshin Earthquake, struck the northern end of Uji Island in the southern part of Hyogo Prefecture, killing 34 and MJ 7.3 on the revised JMA magnitude scale. The tremors lasted for approximately 20 seconds. The focus of the earthquake was located 16 kilometers beneath its epicenter, on the northern end of Uji Island, 20 kilometers away from the city of Kobe. In 2003, the Sanriku coast was affected again with a series of earthquakes, including the 7.0 Miyagi quake on May 20, injuring 171 and causing $97.3 million in damages, and a quake on July 26 with 676 injured persons, and 11,341 buildings were damaged with $195.4 million in damages. On October 23, 2004, the 2004 Car Etsu Earthquake measuring 6.9 on the Richter scale struck in Agia, Niigata. It occurred at 5:56 p.m., local time, on a Saturday. The initial earthquake caused noticeable shaking across almost half of Honshu, including parts of the Tohoku, Hokuriku, Kabu, and Kanto regions. On March 20, 2005, the 2005 Fukuoka earthquake measuring 7.0 m struck in the Fukuoka Prefecture and the Genkai Sea about 6 kilometers northwest of Genkai Island at the mouth of Fukuoka Harbor. It lasted for approximately 50 seconds. The quake occurred along a previously unknown fault in the Genkai Sea, north of Fukuoka City, and the residents of Genkai Island were forced to evacuate as houses collapsed and landslides occurred in places. Investigations subsequent to the earthquake determined that the new fault was most likely an extension of the known Kego Fault that runs through the center of the city. On August 16, 2005, the 2005 Miyagi earthquake measuring 7.2 m struck about 55 kilometers due east of the Oshika Peninsula in Miyagi Prefecture, eastern Honshu. It caused many casualties, building collapses and power outages. The earthquake affected most of Japan's northeastern coast. It triggered a tsunami warning, and buildings shook 200 miles away in the capital, Tokyo. It was initially estimated to have a rating of 6.8, and the U.S. Geological Survey later registered it as a 7.2. The 2005 Sanriku Japan earthquake occurred at 6:39 a.m. Japan Standard Time on November 15, 2005. The earthquake was centered in the Pacific Ocean about 330 miles east-northeast of Tokyo, about 24 miles below the surface. There were no immediate reports of casualties. It was originally recorded by United States Geological Survey as a 7.2 magnitude earthquake on the moment magnitude scale, but the Japan Meteorological Agency called it a magnitude 6.9 earthquake. Almost immediately after the quake, the Japan Meteorological Agency issued a tsunami warning. Earthquake-associated waves of between 1 and 2 feet were reported at Ofunato on the east coast of Japan. Warnings were also issued for the northwest coast of the United States. On November 15, 2006, an earthquake measuring 7.9 m, the 2006 Kuril Islands earthquake struck about 160 kilometers due east of the southern tip of Shima in the Kuril Islands. It caused a tsunami to hit the Japanese northern coast. On March 25, 2007, The Noto Peninsula earthquake measuring 6.9 m struck about 11 kilometers due west of the southern end of the town of Ojima in the Hokuriku region of Japan, near the Noto Peninsula. The earthquake shook the city of Nanao and the town of Anamizu with a seismic intensity of 6+ on Japan's Shindo scale. One death, in the city of Ojima, and at least 214 injuries were reported. A tsunami advisory was immediately made for the Kaga coast and Noto coast, and a 10-20 cm wave hit shore about 30 minutes later. On July 16, 2007, an earthquake measuring 6.6 m, the 2007 Car Etsu offshore earthquake hit about 29 kilometers west of Niigata in the northwest Niigata region of Japan. Was a powerful magnitude 6.6 earthquake. The earthquake shook Niigata and neighboring prefectures. The city of Kashiwazaki and the villages of Izuna and Kariwa registered the highest seismic intensity of a strength 6 on Japan's Shindo scale, but the quake was felt as far away as Tokyo. 11 deaths and at least 1,000 injuries have been reported, and 342 buildings were completely destroyed, mostly older wooden structures. On June 14, 2008, an earthquake measuring 6.9 m, the 2008 Iwate Miyagi Sanriku Earthquake struck about 1 kilometer east of Narusa and Onsen in northwest Iwate Prefecture and the mid-Tohoku region, of northeastern Honshu. On August 9, 2009, an earthquake measuring 6.9 7.1 m hit the Azu Islands. Effects were felt in Tokyo and trains halted briefly, and just 2 days later on August 11, an earthquake measuring 6.5 6.6 m hit the Tohoku region. On March 11, 2011, Japan suffered the strongest earthquake in its history, which was also its costliest earthquake, and indeed the costliest natural disaster in history. The 2011 Tohoku earthquake measured 9.0 on the moment magnitude scale and produced a tsunami approximately 10 meters high. Despite the warning systems, thousands were killed by the quake and tsunami. Over 100,000 buildings were damaged, with several towns essentially completely destroyed. Hundreds of aftershocks, including some over 7 MW, continued after the first earthquake. As a result of the Fukushima I nuclear accidents that followed the tsunami, attention has been drawn to ongoing concerns over Japanese nuclear seismic design standards. Response: over the years, the Japanese government has enforced measures to make buildings more resistant to earthquakes in known disaster zones. Households in Japan have been ordered to keep a survival kit consisting of water and food to last a few days, a flashlight, a radio and a first aid kit, and are advised not to position heavy objects where they could easily fall during an earthquake and hamper their response or cause harm. Many organizations and centers of research have been established to study seismological activity in Japan, and in 1969 the Coordinating Committee for Earthquake Prediction was founded to coordinate research. Among the research organizations are the International Institute of Seismology and Earthquake Engineering and the Institute of Seismology and Volcanology at Kyushu University. Earthquake measurement: in Japan the Shindo scale is commonly used to measure earthquakes by seismic intensity instead of magnitude. This is similar to the modified Mercalli scale used in the United States or the Lidus scale used in China, meaning that the scale measures the intensity of an earthquake at a given location instead of measuring the energy an earthquake releases at its epicenter as the Richter scale does. Unlike other seismic intensity scales, which normally have 12 levels of intensity, Shindo as used by the Japan Meteorological Agency is a unit with 10 levels, ranging from Shindo 0, a very light tremor, to Shindo 7, a severe earthquake. Intermediate levels for earthquakes with Shindo 5 and 6 are weak, or strong, according to the degree of destruction they cause. Earthquakes measured at Shindo 4 and lower are considered to be weak to mild, while those measured at 5 and above can cause heavy damage to furniture, wall tiles, wooden houses, reinforced concrete buildings, roads, gas and water pipes. See also, Category, Japanese seismologists, Coordinating Committee for Earthquake Prediction, List of disasters in Japan by death toll, List of earthquakes in Japan, Nuclear power in Japan. Seismicity, seismicity of the Sanriku coast, Japan Meteorological Agency Seismic Intensity Scale. References. Further reading, Japan, Large-Scale Floods and Earthquakes. Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. 2009. ISBN 978-92-64-05639-8. Alex K. Tang, P.E. and Anshul J. Schiff. Kashiwazaki, Japan, Earthquake of July 16, 2007. Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. ISBN 978-07-84-41062-2. External links. Earthquakes in Japan since 1900. Tableau public, 1 week of Japanese earthquakes. Tableau public, media related to earthquakes in Japan at Wikimedia Commons.